Hey guys, today I'll show you a horror thriller film named The Monster Project. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The story begins with Brian and Jamal, who are determined to film the scariest documentary ever. After numerous unsatisfactory topic searches, Brian seeks help from his ex-girlfriend Muriel, an experienced program planner. She suggests a monster project, focusing on exploring the existence of legendary creatures. Brian invites Muriel to join the team and hires a seasoned cameraman. Initially reluctant due to his past as a drug addict and dealer, the cameraman has been clean for nearly a year after finding faith in God. He feels that pursuing monsters is blasphemous, but eventually agrees after Muriel's persuasion. Brian posts a casting call online, seeking individuals who believe they are real-life monsters. Surprisingly, 3 applicants claiming to be a skinwalker, a vampire, and a demon respond. After confirming their sincerity, they arrange to meet at a mansion in the forest on the night of a total lunar eclipse. Although skeptical about the existence of monsters, the team undergoes basic exorcism training and equips themselves with crosses, holy water, and other protective items for safety. On the night of the eclipse, the 4 drive to the mansion, where an elderly caretaker, who is camera-shy, warns them that the place was once a satanic gathering site and advises them not to wander. Ignoring his warning, they explore and find evidence of satanic rituals, such as pentagrams and inverted crosses. A door opens on its own, leading them to a room with an elderly woman in a wheelchair. She appears dazed but becomes fearful upon seeing the cameraman. The caretaker quickly escorts her away, explaining that she is his wife and suffers from Alzheimer's disease. Suddenly, the front door opens, revealing a girl in a white dress, one of the applicants, who claims to be possessed by a demon and is in great distress. Muriel directs her to the first waiting room. Next arrives a female tattoo artist claiming to be a vampire, followed by a man, a police officer, who identifies as a skinwalker and is heavily covered. They are assigned to the second and third waiting rooms, respectively. The team sets up their equipment to begin filming, starting with interviews. First is the Skinwalker police officer, who explains that skinwalkers, akin to werewolves, originate from a Native American tribe and avoid public exposure. He shares that he transforms during full moons and had to kill a close relative, offering their soul to the devil to become a skinwalker. He even offers to demonstrate his transformation that night. The team finds his story absurd, suppressing laughter, and quickly concludes the interview, sending him back to the waiting room. Next is the self-proclaimed vampire, a heavily made-up woman behaving provocatively. She claims she can discern people's backgrounds by tasting their diabetic blood. Skeptical, the team is shocked when she detects traces of drugs in the cameraman's blood and accurately identifies the substance. Distressed, the cameraman runs out, crying like a giant baby, leaving Brian to continue the interviews alone. Lastly, they interview the demon girl, who appears fragile. She describes how a demon frequently possesses and assaults her sexy body, possibly wanting to have a baby with her. She then shows bruises on her neck as evidence. Suddenly, she panics, screaming that the demon has arrived. At the filming location, everyone thought it was just another attention seeker faking possession. But suddenly, the lights went out, causing chaos. Once calm was restored, Muriel used a flashlight to investigate the electrical circuits. While passing by the police officer's room, she saw him removing wooden planks nailed to the window. At that moment, the lunar eclipse occurred, accompanied by a horrifying roar. The police officer turned around, revealing a ferocious, terrifying face full of fangs. Terrified, Muriel screamed in a chicken voice and ran for her shitty life, alarming Jamal and Brian, who rushed to her. They were shocked when they encountered the Skinwalker officer. Realizing that skinwalkers truly existed, they surmised that vampires and demons must be real too. Before they could react, the vampire tattoo artist also transformed and joined forces with the officer to attack the 3 of them. Unfortunately, due to his skin color, Jamal was the first to be captured by the Skinwalker and taken upstairs. Muriel and Brian decided to deal with the vampire first. Using a fire stake specifically for vampires, they attacked from 2 sides to distract it. They successfully pierced the vampire's body with the stake, but unexpectedly the vampire turned out to be weak and died quickly. They then ran upstairs, finding Jamal gravely injured. Jamal, despite his injuries, humorously quipped about how horror movies always kill off the black characters first. Meanwhile, the cameraman, mourning in another room, encountered the demon-possessed girl. This girl, combining demon powers and vengeful spirits, overwhelmed him with hallucinations. In these hallucinations, the souls of those who had died due to the drugs he once provided came to seek revenge. Fortunately, his faith in God remained steadfast, and at a critical moment, he used a crucifix to stab the demon within the girl. However, the demon transferred to Muriel, forcing him to expel it with holy water and scripture. Tragically, the demon girl was killed by the skinwalker officer during the struggle. The survivors joined forces against the officer, finally managing to defeat it after much effort. Unfortunately, Jamal succumbed to his injuries, and Muriel, bitten during her fight with the vampire, started vomiting blood. On the verge of death, Muriel pleaded with Brian to save her shitty life. Strangely, Brian ignored her bullshit and left without hormone mercy. The cameraman heard the commotion and arrived too late. Muriel had died. While he grieved, Muriel suddenly sprang up and attacked him. Realizing she had turned into a vampire, he was forced to kill her and sent her to meet Satan. The cameraman then went looking for Brian, but was ambushed by the skinwalker, who had somehow survived. During their fight, the cameraman fell from the second-floor window and lost consciousness. When he woke up, he found himself tied to a chair, unable to film any video footage. Standing before him were a high priest wearing a satanic goat head mask and Brian. On the pentagram before him lay the naked corpses of Jamal and Muriel. It turned out that Brian was the mastermind behind everything, the leader of a local satanic cult. To summon Satan back to the human world, he had deliberately recruited Jamal and Muriel as sacrifices. The monsters summoned during the lunar eclipse were part of the ritual to bring Satan back to life. The ritual was now at its final step, using the cameraman's blood to anoint the pentagram and awaken Satan. His blood was chosen because, as a devout believer in God, only the diabetic blood of a faithful disciple could symbolize God's submission to Satan. In the film's closing scene, the elderly wheelchair-bound woman slit the cameraman's throat, completing the ritual. With the lunar eclipse ending, Satan returned to the human world, marking the end of the story. In this story, the satanic cult is a catch-all explanation. Ultimately, everything was conveniently blamed on Satan, making him a spiritual sibling to Cthulhu. This found-footage-style horror film uniquely combines three major monsters, a rarity in such films. However, the connection between the monsters and Satan feels somewhat forced, as if awkwardly pieced together.